Hey, it looks like I'm live. Thank you for checking this video out. It's going to be a little different from what I usually do. This is more of a reflection and a day in the life. I guess you call it a vlog. I don't know. But here's what I want to talk with you about today. I want to talk with you about actually rolling your sleeves up, digging into your processes, and strategically and systematically identifying, testing, changing, and then ultimately optimizing every part of your process. And today it's about selling. Oh, you guys hate that word, I know. And then there are a couple of you who are going, wait a minute, I don't hate that word. And to you, I salute you. I hope you're not one of those douchebag salespeople, but I know what it's like to hate selling. And look, I realize everybody can say anything they want all the time on social media. But I'm telling you, I was born and raised in the ultimate anti-capitalist environment, which was to say I was born and raised in a cult that was extremely socialist. Really, if I'm being honest, they had Marxist ideals. They had what's the opposite of socialism, of capitalism? Well, whatever, socialism, I guess. The point is this: I was born and raised and frankly indoctrinated into an intense environment of rejecting everything that had to do with capitalism, money, commerce, all of it. In fact, I was probably 35 years old before I discovered that the cult that I was born and raised in had a huge bank account. We grew up in absolute poverty. Absolute poverty. I had to fight all the time because I was so poor. I got picked on. I got teased. I was wearing hand-me-down clothes. And all along, all I wanted to do, even as a little kid, was learn about business. Like that's been marketing, sales, all of that stuff has been what I automatically gravitated toward all my life. I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always tried to figure out how to create businesses. And I had to dig myself out from under a massive amount of, I guess, what really amounts to brainwashing about all things capitalism, money making, and so I'm here today as someone who has figured out how to get out from under all that stuff, because it was just not a fit for me. And by the way, if it's a fit for you, that's great. I'm tired of judging people. I will say this: you're not probably going to enjoy my content. You're probably not going to enjoy who I am and what I do if you really have a resistance to things like money, selling, capitalism, America. Like, you're not going to like me that much because I am very much attracted to those things. I love those things. And, doesn't make me a bad person, doesn't make you a bad person, whatever. So that's all the sort of the prelude to what I'm going to talk about today. And normally on these videos, I teach you a thing. Most of my videos are meant to give you specific, actionable, teachable information, training, education, whatever. This, while you're going to learn stuff, this is more, I just want to walk you through what I'm doing. And so here we go. I have what's called a working funnel. I have a way to fairly predictably bring leads in to my agency. I have a process for qualifying those leads. I have a sales process, and I have proven offers that at 4 different levels right now, all the way down from a monthly membership where I train you in person on live weekly calls on the foundational elements of organic marketing. Then above that, I have a done-for-you, high-converting content subscription offer. And it's literally what it sounds like. Every Monday, I deliver to you all the content you'll need for the week, and it will get you into conversations with people. But that's really not what this video is about either. But I just want to explain to you so you have a sense of everything I'm doing. Above that, I have what I call the done-for-you Facebook group service for high ticket coaches and course creators. And it's literally where I will build, set up, and or take over and run for you a Facebook group and get you clients out of it. You got to do the selling though. And that's why you see right here, learn to sell or your business will die. Because what I'm evaluating today is my sales process. Excuse me. Raw and real, unfiltered and unedited, sneezes at no extra charge. So I've got a working funnel. In other words, I know that I can bring leads in. I qualify those leads, and those leads, some of them wind up working with me. That's a working funnel. For every dollar I'm spending in my funnel right now, I'm getting about $3.85, maybe $4. So it's working pretty good. But here's the thing. I know that the overall process has a lot of slop in it, a lot of room for improvement. And you may be able to relate to this if you have a coaching offer, a service, a program, and you're trying to grow it, then you can probably relate to the idea of you just know something's off, right? And you haven't pinpointed it yet. You haven't quantified it yet, but you can tell that there's room for improvement. And in many cases, this just shows up in just feeling anxiety, right? You just feel anxiety that it's a little hard to pinpoint where it's coming from, why it's there. And so that's what I've been experiencing for a few weeks now. But as you can see, if you follow me at all, I recently moved into a new office. That is not a digital background. That is real, obviously, or else how could I do what I just did? This is, and so I'm in growth mode. I've moved into a new office. I have staff, team members, whatever. And so I have to split my time between working on the business, working in the business, and then training others to work in the business so I can get up to working on it exclusively. And I'm not there yet, right? And so the next step for me is, how do we take and optimize so that more of the people coming in wind up being clients? Or if not that, how do we identify that they're not a fit sooner and with less effort? One of those two things. Because I can and will turn up the ad spend, and I'll crank up the lead generation sources. But the thing is, before you do that, you really need to at least have an educated guess as to what's going wrong. So here it is. As I said, I've got lead sources. And in my case, I've got three main ones right now. Paid ads that fill my own Facebook group, wherein I teach people how to run Facebook groups, right? And so my group works as a tool to get me clients for groups. Then I have my Facebook profile. Now, in my case, I've spent a long time kind of optimizing it and building a personal brand. And I've got close to, 4,800 friends or whatever. And I'm doing steps to make sure that there are new people coming through all the time so it doesn't get stagnant. And then I've got a couple of sponsorship level opportunities within other large communities where I pay in order to have the right to market to those communities. So really three primary lead sources. Now, I know because of overall revenue for the month and for the month before and whatever, I know that while the funnel's working, I want it to improve. The first kind of gut check might be, oh, let's just turn up the ads, or let's double the amount of times we're posting organically. But here's the thing. We're going to take each of those two ideas one by one. When you rely on organic, you have to be aware that you can overdo it with offering and selling. And so there is a balance, right? You should be making offers a lot. That's the more offers you make, the more money you make. I mean, that's kind of a rule of thumb, and it holds true. However, you cannot, like, imagine that your whole Facebook audience is just a group of people that are all in a big room together. And now imagine that you're on stage and you're just constantly bombarding them with offers. You can't do that because they'll tune you out. They'll start ignoring you. You've got to have a rhythm between real value you provide and offers you make. Okay, so you can't really, in my case at least, just double the amount of offer posts you make. It will saturate and burn out your audience. So I need to be careful there, right? Then with the sponsorship opportunity I have, I get a lot of leads from that group, but they are the lowest quality of the three sources. And so what that means is there's a lot of time spent in qualifying. So the time to qualify goes way, way up, and the actual value produced it's hard to say because I haven't gone through the process I'm about to walk you through, but my gut sense is that that is not a high quality lead source. That's a lead source where I might get a whole bunch of leads for less actual clients, but doesn't mean it's not worth it. So here we go. I've got several places in my funnel that I can evaluate for possible improvement. Now, as I said, I want to walk you through this in a sort of a day in the life kind of a way of thinking of things. Let me tell you the things I've identified. So, as is very common with social media selling, you take people into Messenger first. Now, I've got a setter trainee who is handling most of the in Messenger setting. And so step one is to evaluate closely what his process is, whether it matches the process I've taught him, and then if he's understanding and executing the nuances of how to be effective in Messenger, because it's not just a given, right? There's a very specific way to be effective in Messenger, and there are a lot of ways to screw it up really bad. And the difference between effective and screwing it up can be down to, just word choice. Just single words can throw it off. So there's really an art there. So I've got to do that. I've got to evaluate based on those three criteria. And so, and I keep looking over at my dry erase board to jog my memory for this list I'm sharing with you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have my setter take 50 of his conversations at random, and he's going to look through them. He's going to do his best to remember where they came from. And then we're going to evaluate how closely he's following the Messenger script I've developed. And so that will either tell me that he's not following the script well, or it will tell me that there's some improvement I need to make on the script. You follow me so far? And remember, the whole purpose of this video is I want to demystify how do you, once you've got something that's kind of working, how do you approach optimizing it, right? And optimization means you can scale easier anyway. And so we're going to evaluate 50 of his conversations, and we're going to be looking for where did the lead come from? Where did they drop off in the Messenger conversation? And or did they go through to a phone call? And so if they dropped off, and where they dropped off, and how closely he's following my script. That's one piece of the puzzle here. The next one, let's see, is can't read my own handwriting. I use free lead magnets. It's a huge part of my lead generation strategy. So the next one is I'm going to go back through my free lead magnet library and pick the 5 most potent. I'll pick the 5 most potent lead magnets and test them again. One thing I'll tell you about lead magnets is they don't all perform the same. And we kind of know that intuitively, but the problem kind of turns into this problem of you will, without even realizing it, start making assumptions about what kind of lead magnets your audience wants. And you cannot do that. You must make the lead magnets, put them out, and let the audience tell you which ones they like best. Okay? Otherwise, you're just guessing. It may seem like you've got real data, but you don't. Or another thing is if you try to ask people for marketing feedback, you'll get different data from them than if you're giving them something of value for free and letting them simply vote by whether they take it or not. I hope that makes sense. If somebody takes something that they think will serve them, that's true market feedback. If you ask somebody questions, you get inherently biased market feedback. And it's not to say you can't have high utility and value from biased market feedback, but obviously unbiased is better. So I'm going to be examining that. I'm going to go back through those hand raisers, and I'm going to make notes. I'm going to basically lay out a theory of why I think those ones are the best. And then I'm going to ask myself, how can I get more oomph out of those? Can I rename them? Can I update them? Can you see what I'm saying? And then, so the next one is I'm going to be looking at my actual sales process, starting from when people pass the messenger chat and get into calls. I use a 2-call close almost exclusively, and sometimes it's a 3-call close, because contrary to what seems to be I'll call it the prevalent myth, when it comes to multi-$1,000 purchases, most people, the majority of people, are not ready to make a choice like that on one phone call or one video call. And so I use typically a 2-call close. And in my case, a big part of my sales strategy is honesty, clarity. I call it trust and permission. And so I don't ever want to have to feel like I'm checkmating somebody into saying yes. I want them to say yes from a place of feeling sure and confident. Now, that is a good philosophy, but it also can go too far, because it's very easy when you're in that mindset of like, hey, we're just having a real conversation here, to ignore valuable things, like putting real meaningful scarcity, right? Like, for instance, I'm going to test having my proposals be good for 7 days versus just sort of, open-ended. And so I'm going to see if that creates an urgency that I frankly, I need. I need more urgency from my prospects. And so those are, based on my notes over there on the dry erase board, those are the things that I'm going to be focusing on. Then also there's one more, which is to review the process within my group, because it's my goal that my group become the primary lead generation and revenue engine in my business. Right now, it's a little ambiguous because, again, I have 3 lead sources. And as of making this video, we're just putting tracking and attribution metrics in place internally. Haven't had them before. Again, because up until recently, I was just like a one-man shop. I had a couple of helpers that were remote, but it was basically just a guy selling his services on social media, like I'm sure many of you are familiar with. But now I want to take it to a real meaningful agency that not only can scale up, but that I can grow past having to work in, and that I can ultimately sell down the road. And so those are my goals. Everything seems to be working, but it's time to look closer at optimization, because I want more revenue for less effort than what I have now, which is a lot of effort and good revenue. I want maybe the same effort and great revenue. You see what I'm saying, right? And so I'll probably do, maybe I'll even do a series on this, but I want you to take away from this that when you know something is wrong in your business, it sits inside you like anxiety, like adrenaline, right? And when it sits inside you like adrenaline, it can be very difficult to sort of pull yourself out of the way that feels and put together a logical, sensible plan. And so in my case, the thing that's causing the anxiousness is this feeling that the sales process, the enrollment process, the revenue to effort ratio needs to be improved. And so knowing that that's the case, what I've done is I've backed up so I get a broader view of the whole thing. And from that broader view, I've identified 4, maybe 5 key places that I need to look at, test, see if I can improve, measure, and then validate, or I guess validate. Yeah, measure and validate. Anyway, this is how any funnel grows. This is basically the process. You might find somebody who puts different words on it, but once you get something, a machine, if you will, where if you put $1 into it, you get more than $1 out, you've got a working funnel. Some would argue that any result constitutes a working funnel. for my own purposes, I keep a little harder line than that. Like it's got to be at least $1.50, right? Let's say for each dollar I put in. And it can be so overwhelming to figure out where to start, what to do, kind of how to approach the whole thing. And this is what you do. You back up. You try to look at it as non-emotionally, as dispassionately as you possibly can. And it is a sequence of identifying places where improvement could happen, and then coming up with a strategy, implementing that strategy and testing it, and then measuring the results. That's funnel optimization. That's sales pipeline optimization. That's marketing optimization in a nutshell. That's it. That's all you have to do, which is simple, but not really easy. So stay tuned for future videos in this series. And until then, I am going to go optimize my sales process.